1746. Paris, Royal Library. Cartographer Jean-Baptiste Bourguignon d'Anville holds a map that shouldn't exist. Chinese origin, dated 1628. Shows Central Asia in detail Europeans never mapped. But that's not the problem. The problem is the cities. Hundreds of them. Massive urban centers spread across Siberia and Tartary. Population estimates in the millions. Architecture that rivals Rome. Trade routes connecting continents. And here's the thing. None of these cities appear on any European map from the same period. Not one. D'Anville checks his references. Ottoman maps, Persian manuscripts, Jesuit expedition logs. They all show the same thing. Vast civilization, enormous cities, advanced infrastructure. Then he checks the official European records. Empty steppes, nomadic tribes, wilderness. One map says thriving empire, the other says nothing. Which one's lying? Look, I know what you're thinking. Map-making errors, cartographic fantasy. Every old map has dragons and sea monsters drawn in the margins, right? But these aren't margin decorations. These are detailed city layouts, street grids, fortress positions, river systems with precise measurements, cathedral spires counted and recorded, population centers marked with administrative districts, and every single one erased from modern history books. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to examine the physical evidence, the maps that survived, the buildings still standing, the photographs taken before demolition crews arrived, the archives that certain governments really don't want you accessing. Because something massive existed across northern Asia for centuries. Something with technology, with architecture, with a level of organization that doesn't fit the narrative we've been taught. And somebody went to enormous effort to delete it. So the official story goes like this. Before the 1800s, Central Asia was basically empty. Scattered nomadic tribes, no permanent cities, no significant civilization. Just harsh steppe land and frozen tundra where nobody wanted to live. Then Russia expanded eastward, built the Trans-Siberian Railway, established cities, brought civilization to the wilderness. Clean story, simple, fits perfectly into the colonial expansion narrative, except for one problem. The maps don't match. 1600s maps, from Chinese, Persian, and even early Russian sources, show detailed urban centers across regions that official history claims were uninhabited. We're talking cities with defensive walls, harbor installations, road networks connecting them. 1700s maps show the same cities, more detail actually, updated population figures, new districts added. Then something weird happens in the 1800s. The cities start disappearing from maps. Slowly at first, then faster. By the 1900s, gone, completely erased. Replaced with blank spaces labeled undeveloped territory or annexed wilderness. Now, here's the question nobody wants to answer. If these cities never existed, why did cartographers across 3 continents spend 2 centuries meticulously documenting them? Why update population numbers for imaginary places? Why show new construction in cities that supposedly aren't real? And if they did exist, where did they go? Let me show you something specific. City called Tartaria on 16th century maps, located in western Siberia, shown with massive defensive walls. Estimated population, 300,000 people. That's bigger than London at the time. 1732 map by Johann Hohmann, German cartographer, highly respected, shows Tartaria with updated details. New fortress positions, expanded trade districts. Cathedral construction marked as recent addition. 1847. Same location on Russian Imperial Survey map. Nothing. Empty land. Notation reads, suitable for future settlement. Future settlement. For a city that supposedly had 300,000 people a century earlier. You following this? But here's where it gets really interesting. Late 1800s. Photographic technology becomes widespread. People start documenting cities across the Russian Empire, and the photos show buildings that don't match the official timeline. Enormous structures, neoclassical architecture, detailed stonework that would take decades to create, cathedral domes covered in intricate metalwork, public buildings with advanced ventilation systems and underground networks. Official records say these buildings were constructed in the 1860s and 70s, newly built during Russian expansion. But the photos show weathering patterns, centuries-old degradation, foundation settling that takes 200 years minimum, tree growth around structures indicating they've been there since at least the 1600s. So if Russia built these cities in the 1860s, why do they look 300 years old in 1870s photographs? And then the demolitions start. 1890s through 1920s, systematic destruction campaigns across Siberia and Central Asia. Official reason listed as modernization and urban renewal. Hundreds of massive structures demolished, blown up with explosives, torn down to foundations. Rubble buried or dumped into rivers. Why destroy brand new buildings? Buildings supposedly just constructed 30 years prior. Unless they weren't new. Unless they were old. Very old. And somebody needed them gone before too many people started asking questions. Now, most of these old maps got destroyed too, conveniently. Fires in libraries. Archive reorganizations where documents vanished. Military requisitions during wars where collections got confiscated and never returned. But some survived. Private collectors. Families who inherited maps and didn't know their significance. Monastery archives in remote locations nobody bothered checking. And when researchers started comparing these surviving maps, pattern emerged. Every map dated before 1800 shows this empire. Different names depending on the source. Tartaria, Great Tartary, Tartarian Empire. The names vary, but the geography stays consistent. Massive territory, sophisticated infrastructure, trading networks spanning from Eastern Europe to the Pacific. Then, after 1800, systematic erasure. Not just on maps, in encyclopedias too, travel logs, trade records, diplomatic correspondence. The 1771 edition of Encyclopedia Britannica, first edition, has extensive entry on Tartaria. Describes government structure, trade goods, cultural practices, military capabilities. 1892 edition, entry gone. Replaced with brief mention of historical region, now obsolete term. Historical region. Like it was never real, just outdated terminology. But you can't have outdated terminology for something that never existed. You can't describe the government structure and trade practices of a fantasy. So which edition is telling the truth? And let's talk about these structures that got demolished. The photographs that survive show construction methods that don't fit the official timeline. Free energy architecture. Buildings designed with massive central towers, featuring metal domes and spires. Not decorative, functional. These towers had purposes. Atmospheric electricity collection. Harmonic resonance chambers. Technology, we're told, didn't exist until the 20th century. But there they are. In 1870s photographs, already weathered, already ancient. foundation depths reaching 60 feet, stone blocks weighing 15 tons each, precision fitting without mortar. We're told this is normal construction for the 1800s, but it's not.
Compare these buildings to verified 1800s construction in Western Europe. The techniques don't match. The scale doesn't match. The precision doesn't match. These Siberian structures look like they came from a different technological era entirely, more advanced in some ways. The acoustic design of the cathedral chambers, the underground tunnel networks, the ventilation systems that work without mechanical fans. Somebody built these. Somebody with knowledge and capabilities that supposedly didn't exist. And then, somebody else destroyed them, methodically, thoroughly, with extreme prejudice. Why? Now here's something they really don't want circulating. Oral histories from indigenous peoples across Siberia and Central Asia, passed down through generations. They talk about the old cities, the ones that were already ancient when their great-grandparents were young. Cities built by the previous people, that's how they refer to them. Not as foreigners, not as invaders,
just the previous civilization. According to these accounts, these cities were abandoned, not destroyed, abandoned. Something happened that made the populations leave. Mass exodus. The indigenous peoples who tell these stories describe finding the cities empty, intact but empty. Then the newcomers arrived. Russian expansion, military forces, engineers, and the demolitions began. One account from a Yakut elder, recorded in 1932 before the Soviet purges, describes watching explosives destroy a cathedral in his village. He was 8 years old. Remembers soldiers setting charges. Remembers the building collapsing. He asked his grandfather why they were destroying it. Grandfather said, "They erased the old world, so nobody remembers it was better than this one." Better. That's the word used. Not different. Better. What did they have that was better? What technology? What social structure?
And why does admitting it existed threaten the current power structure so completely that every trace had to be eliminated? But let's say you're skeptical. Fair. You want hard evidence, not stories and suspicious map changes. So let's look at chronology. Official history says human civilization developed linearly. Ancient Mesopotamia, Egyptian dynasties, Greek and Roman empires, medieval Europe, age of exploration, industrial revolution, modern era. Nice, clean progression, each stage building on the previous one. Except architecture across Siberia and Central Asia doesn't fit this progression. You've got neoclassical buildings, supposedly built in the 1800s, that show construction techniques not developed in Europe until the late 1700s. But these buildings are demonstrably older based on weathering and foundation settling.
You've got underground infrastructure, tunnel systems, aqueducts, heating networks that required surveying and engineering beyond 1800s capabilities. Yet these systems exist under cities' official records claim were founded in the 1860s. You've got metallurgical analysis of materials from demolished structures, iron alloys with compositions that don't match any known 1800s Russian production, trace elements suggesting ore sources from regions Russia didn't control until the 1900s. So the timeline breaks. These structures are too old for their construction date, too advanced for their supposed era, too widespread for the population levels official records claim. Unless there was another civilization, bigger, more advanced, operating parallel to or before the European powers. And, for some reason, we're not allowed to know about it. Right. So let's stop talking about what's missing and start looking at what survived. Because they didn't destroy everything. Couldn't. Too much, too widespread. Some buildings still stand, modified, repurposed. But the bones remain, and those bones tell stories. Kazan, Russia. The Annunciation Cathedral. Official construction date, 1552 to 1562. Built by order of Ivan the Terrible after conquering the Kazan Khanate. Standard story, Russian Orthodox expansion, symbol of conquest. But look at the actual structure. Foundation descends 93 feet below ground level. Bedrock excavation that would have taken years with 1600s technology. The official construction timeline gives them 10 years total, for both excavation and building. Do the math. Foundation work alone should have taken 15 to 20 years minimum, with the tools supposedly available, with the workforce supposedly present. But they did it in 10. Complete building, foundation to spire. How? Now check the architectural style.
Officially listed as Russian Orthodox, with Tatar influences. But examine the design elements closely. The dome structure uses principles of acoustic resonance found in Gothic cathedrals, but predates Russian contact with Western European Gothic architecture by decades. The mathematical ratios in the chamber dimensions match golden ratio proportions down to millimeters. This level of precision requires surveying tools Russia supposedly didn't acquire until the 1700s. And here's the detail nobody can explain. The underground chambers, 3 levels deep, climate-controlled through natural ventilation shafts, acoustic properties that allow whispers to carry clearly across 100-foot distances, stone-cutting precision that puts blocks together with gaps smaller than human hair width. Official records claim these chambers were dug by 1600s laborers using hand tools. But modern engineers examined the chamber walls in 1998, published their findings in a regional academic journal, very limited circulation, very quiet release. Their conclusion? The precision and scale of underground excavation matches capabilities available only with 20th century equipment. Diamond cutting tools, laser surveying, hydraulic lifting systems, none of which existed in 1562. The journal article raised questions, suggested the structure might predate official construction date, recommended further investigation. 3 months later, lead researcher died. Car accident, single vehicle, road conditions clear. No explanation for why he lost control. The journal ceased publication that year. Archive copies difficult to find now. Digital versions scrubbed from most academic databases. But the cathedral still stands. And the underground chambers still don't make sense. Now let me tell you about something found in 2008. Moscow. Routine renovation of a government building. Former Imperial Administrative Office. Construction crew breaking through a wall to install new plumbing. They find a room, sealed, not on any building plans. Inside, maps, hundreds of them, stored in metal cases, perfectly preserved. The construction foreman, guy named Dmitry Sokolov, he's smart enough to stop work immediately. Calls the City Historical Preservation Office. Inspector arrives, examines the maps, goes pale, starts making phone calls. Within 6 hours, military shows up, seals the building, evacuates workers. No explanation given. But Sokolov, he took photos with his phone before the military arrived, sent them to his brother. Smart move. The photos show maps dated 1720 through 1790. Official imperial survey maps, stamped with royal seals, authenticated. And they show cities across Siberia, dozens of them, detailed layouts, population figures, administrative districts, all the things official history says didn't exist.
One map, particularly interesting, dated 1763, shows a city called Tobolsk. Official records say Tobolsk was founded in 1587 as a small fort, grew slowly. By 1763, had population around 8,000. But this map shows population of 73,000. Shows cathedral complexes, multiple fortress walls, extensive dock facilities on the river, manufacturing districts. 73,000 people, in a location official history claims had 8,000. Discrepancy of 65,000 people, just missing from the official count. Where'd they go? Did they never exist? Or did somebody decide to pretend they didn't? Sokolov's brother tried to get the photos to media outlets. Every major news organization declined to run them, called them unverified and potentially fraudulent. Potentially fraudulent maps with authentic imperial seals found in a sealed government archive room. Sure. The brother posted them online. Forums. Historical discussion groups. Image hosting sites. They kept getting removed. Terms of service violations, copyright claims, though nobody could say who owned copyright on 1800s government maps. A few copies survived, floating around in conspiracy theory circles, poor quality, compressed images, but you can still make out the city names, the population numbers, the seals, and you can see what was deleted from official history. But let's go deeper, because there's physical evidence even harder to dismiss. Ice core samples from Siberian permafrost. Standard climate research. Teams drill into frozen ground, extract cores showing atmospheric composition going back thousands of years. Normal science, nothing controversial, except when they started drilling near old city sites. 2011, international research team working near former location of a city called Isker. City appears on 16th and 17th century maps. Official history says it was a small tribal settlement. No significance. The team drills ice cores at various points around the site. Standard cores show what you'd expect. Frozen soil, occasional organic material, normal permafrost composition. But cores drilled directly under where the city center supposedly stood. Different story. They find ash layers, lots of them, dating to 1700s, concentrated. Too much ash for normal settlement fires. Chemical analysis shows high temperatures, above 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. Sustained heating, not brief fires, extended burning. Carbon isotope ratios indicate manufactured materials, metals, processed chemicals, industrial-scale combustion. From a site official history claims had maybe 200 people living in wooden huts. The research team published preliminary findings, noted the discrepancy, suggested possible industrial activity at the site predating official records. Follow-up funding requests denied. Project cancelled. Lead researcher, Dr. Helena Volkov, reassigned to different project in Antarctica. Very far from Siberia. Very far from asking questions. But the ice cores exist, stored in research facility freezers. The data's there, showing industrial-scale burning at sites supposedly inhabited by primitive tribes. Somebody was smelting metal, working with high-temperature processes, creating ash signatures that match 19th century industrial operations. In the 1700s, in locations official maps claim were wilderness. And then there's the photographic evidence they missed. See, when Russia started demolishing these structures in the 1890s, photography was already widespread. People documented things. Photographers took jobs recording cities for posterity. Most of those photographs got confiscated, archives seized,
Collections destroyed, but some escaped. Private family albums, images sold to foreign collectors, copies exported before the purges.
And these photos? They're problems. There's a series from Tobolsk, taken in 1894, shows the cathedral complex before demolition. The buildings are massive, stone construction, ornate details, weathering patterns showing centuries of exposure. But here's the issue. The photos show architectural elements that shouldn't exist in 1800s Russia. Gothic flying buttresses, Moorish geometric patterns, architectural styles from different traditions integrated into single structures. How do isolated Siberian builders in the 1600s incorporate Gothic and Moorish elements they've never seen? Unless they didn't build them, unless they inherited them from whoever came before. The photos show people too, citizens of Tobolsk, in the frame for scale. They're standing next to buildings with entrance arches 40 feet high, doorways sized for much taller use, everything oversized by modern human standards.
Why build doors 40 feet high if average human height is 5.5 feet? Unless average human height was different. Or unless humans weren't the primary inhabitants. I know how that sounds. But look at the photos. Look at the proportions. Something's wrong with the scale. 2016. Construction project in Yekaterinburg. Digging foundation for new shopping complex. Excavator hits something metal, 30 feet down. Crew pulls up fragments, metal beams, obviously manufactured, not geological formation. City archaeologist called in, standard procedure, examines the fragments. She immediately notices the alloy composition, runs field tests, gets readings that don't make sense, takes samples to university lab, full metallurgical analysis. Results show iron-titanium alloy with trace amounts of tungsten. Composition and manufacturing technique consistent with mid-20th century aerospace materials. Carbon dating of organic material fused to the metal, 1740 through 1760. So you've got aerospace-grade metal alloy from the 1700s, 200 years before Wright brothers' first flight. 230 years before titanium alloys developed for jet aircraft. The archaeologist, Dr. Anya Fedorova, writes detailed report, recommends halting construction, suggests comprehensive archaeological survey of the site, report submitted to City Planning Committee. Construction continues. No pause, no survey. Dr. Fedorova appeals to Regional Cultural Ministry, submits metal analysis data, requests intervention. Ministry responds with brief letter, states that anomalous readings likely due to laboratory contamination, and no basis for construction delay. She has the samples independently analyzed at 3 different labs. All confirm the same composition. All show the same impossible dating. She publishes paper in international journal. Details the findings, raises questions about advanced metallurgy in pre-industrial Russia. Paper receives minimal attention. Academic community largely ignores it. 6 months later, she receives visit at university office. 2 men, government credentials, very polite. They suggest her research might benefit from new direction. Hint at funding opportunities in less controversial areas. Note that her current tenure review coming up soon. She gets the message. The metal samples, still in storage, still showing impossible composition, still dated to 1700. Nobody talks about them. But here's what they couldn't bury, because it's still standing, modified, repurposed, hidden in plain sight. St. Petersburg, Winter Palace. Officially built 1754 to 1762. Standard tourist attraction. Museum now. Hermitage collection. Everyone knows it, except the foundation. The palace foundation descends 112 feet into ground.
Bedrock excavation requiring removal of approximately 800,000 cubic meters of earth and rock. Official construction timeline, 8 years. Modern engineering analysis says that level of excavation would require 3,000 workers minimum, working 12-hour shifts 7 days a week for 5 years straight, just to clear the foundation. That leaves 3 years to build entire palace, above-ground structure, all that Baroque ornamentation, interior finishing, hermitage expansion wings. 3 years. Impossible with mid-1800s technology and workforce. Unless the foundation was already there, already excavated by someone else, long before. And look at the underground levels. 3 subterranean floors beneath the palace, vaulted chambers, precision stonework, climate control systems using natural ventilation, officially listed as wine cellars and storage, but the acoustic properties suggest different original purpose. The chamber ratios, the geometric precision. These rooms were designed as resonance chambers. For what? The palace sits on a network of tunnels, connecting to other major buildings across St. Petersburg. Official records say tunnels built for security, underground passages for royal family during emergencies. But the tunnels extend beyond royal properties, connect to sites across the city. Total length estimated at 47 miles. Who builds 47 miles of underground tunnels for emergency escape routes? Unless they weren't escape routes. Unless they were something else. Part of larger system, already existing when the city was founded. And here's where everything connects. Because when you map the tunnel network under St. Petersburg, when you overlay it with the street layout, when you compare the architectural alignments, you see a pattern. The city wasn't built randomly. It was built on top of something, following existing infrastructure, using foundations already in place. St. Petersburg officially founded 1703, built from nothing. Peter the Great's new capital. But the foundation work suggests civilization already present, already developed. And somebody buried it, built over it, claimed it as new. The maps show it. The photographs prove it. The metal samples verify it. The architectural analysis confirms it. There was an empire here. Advanced, widespread, technologically sophisticated. And then, gone. Erased, demolished, written out of history. But traces remain, physical evidence they couldn't completely destroy. And in Moscow, in that sealed archive room Dmitry Sokolov found, there was one more map, dated 1798, final year before systematic erasure began. Shows entire empire, borders, cities, infrastructure, administrative divisions. And in the corner, sealed document attached to the map. Wax seal unbroken. The military took everything when they seized the room, but Sokolov got one photo, close up. The document seal. Royal seal of Catherine the Great. And beneath it, handwritten notation. 4 words in Russian. Prikaz stirania Velikai Imperii. Translation: Order to erase the Great Empire. So Catherine the Great orders the erasure of an entire empire. 1798, peak of her reign, Russia at maximum power, and she decides to delete history. Why? Let's work backwards from what we know. Winter Palace, St. Petersburg, where we left off. But there's another building connected to those underground tunnels, the small Hermitage. Built 1764 to 1775, Catherine's private museum. Official story: she collected art, European paintings, classical sculptures, standard royal hobby. But look at what else she collected. Maps. Thousands of them. Purchased from private collectors across Europe. Spent enormous sums. Outbid other royal houses for specific cartographic collections. Why? What was so important about old maps?
Her collection included works by every major cartographer who documented Tartaria: Mercator, Ortelius, Blau, Homan, all the names we discussed. After her death, 1896, the map collection got reorganized, standard archive procedure, except 3/4 of it vanished during reorganization. Missing, just gone. The remaining maps, ones that survived, mostly show Western Europe, standard geographic documentation, nothing controversial. But the Eastern maps, the ones showing Siberia and Central Asia in detail, the ones documenting cities and infrastructure, all removed, officially listed as transferred to state military archives for security purposes. Except military archives have no record of receiving them. So where'd they go? Now here's something interesting. 1773. Catherine corresponds with Voltaire, French philosopher, Enlightenment thinker. They're pen pals, write frequently, standard historical fact, letters preserved, published.
Except certain letters aren't in the published collections.
2003. French National Archives undergoes digitization project, scanning old correspondence, making it accessible to researchers. Technician finds folder misfiled. Contains 3 letters between Catherine and Voltaire, never published, never catalogued properly. The letters discuss the Eastern question. That's the phrase they use. Very careful phrasing, very diplomatic. Voltaire asks Catherine about ancient civilizations predating classical antiquity. Catherine responds, and I'm translating from French here: what existed before must remain before. The present requires singular narrative. Singular narrative. One story, one version. She continues, we discovered libraries, technologies beyond current capabilities. The people fear what they cannot understand. Better they believe in simple progression. Libraries, technologies, beyond current capabilities. What did she find?
The letter dates to 1774, 24 years before her erasure order. So she knew, for decades, knew about this civilization, studied it, then decided it had to disappear. The French archives quietly removed these letters from public digitization project. Researcher who found them, Dr. Claire Rousseau, wrote article about the discovery. Article rejected by every historical journal she submitted to. Reasons given: insufficient context and authentication concerns. She has photographs of the original letters, in Catherine's handwriting, with authentic royal seals, but insufficient context, apparently. Dr. Rousseau posted scans online. Academic website, personal research blog. Site went down 3 weeks later. Hosting company claimed terms of service violation. Wouldn't specify which terms. Scans disappeared from web archives too. Multiple backups. All gone. But I've seen them. Copies still exist, hidden in less obvious places. And Catherine's words stay with you.
What existed before must remain before. She's admitting it existed, then declaring it must stay buried. So what technology did they have? Let's look at physical evidence. Structures that survived demolition. Moscow, Sokolov Tower, built 1692 to 1701, officially. stood 210 feet tall. Massive structure, multiple levels, observatory on top. The tower had something unusual. Metal framework integrated into stone construction. Not decorative, structural. Load-bearing metal skeleton inside masonry exterior. This construction technique, steel frame architecture, wasn't developed in Europe until 1880s. 1880s Chicago, home insurance building. First skyscraper using steel frame. Yet Sukharev Tower had it in 1692, 200 years early. The tower also had underground component, deep foundation, chambers descending 90 feet, ventilation shafts, water channels.
Climate control system maintaining constant temperature. All this supposedly built by 1700s Russian laborers. The tower stood until 1934, then Stalin ordered its demolition. Official reason: obstructing traffic flow. Traffic flow. In Moscow, where dozens of equally large buildings stood and still stand. Real reason? The tower attracted too much attention. Researchers studying the architecture, asking questions about construction methods, noticing the impossibilities. Demolition took 3 months. Explosive charges, systematic destruction. Foundation excavated and filled with concrete. They didn't just remove it, they erased it, made sure nobody could examine what remained. But photographs exist. Architectural surveys done in 1920s, detailed measurements, documentation of the metal framework. The surveys noted something odd. The metal showed no oxidation, no rust, despite being exposed to Moscow weather for 230 years.
Modern steel rusts, always. Even treated steel shows degradation after decades. But this metal, unchanged, perfect condition. What alloy composition prevents oxidation for 2 centuries? And how did 1700s metallurgists create it? Unless they didn't create it, unless they found it, inherited it from the previous builders. Now let's talk about dates, because there's a pattern, a gap in the historical record between 1798, Catherine's erasure order, and 1828. 30 years. During those 30 years, massive construction projects across Russian Empire, new cities, new buildings, infrastructure development. Official records show enormous workforce mobilization, hundreds of thousands of laborers deployed to Siberia and Central Asia, building new Russia, civilizing the wilderness. Except, census records from that period show population decline, not increase, decline.
Siberian population drops by estimated 200,000 people between 1800 and 1825. So, where's the labor force coming from? Who's doing this construction if population's declining? And the construction itself, too fast. City of Omsk, official founding date 1716, small fort. 1812, city survey shows population 3,000. Wooden structures, basic settlement. 1835 survey shows population 47,000. Stone buildings, cathedral, government complexes, harbor facilities. 23 years, population increase of 44,000. Stone construction replacing wood entirely. This level of growth and construction requires massive immigration, enormous material resources, extensive labor force. But records show no significant immigration. Material shipments insufficient for claimed construction volume. Labor force numbers don't match. Unless they weren't building, they were renovating, repurposing. Modifying existing structures, changing their appearance. Adding Russian architectural elements, making them look new.
while demolishing what they couldn't modify, what was too obviously from before. The 30-year gap, that's the transition period, when they physically erased the old empire, replaced it with the new narrative. And by 1828, story set, maps updated, encyclopedias rewritten, official history established. Tartaria never existed, just archaic term for a vague region. Those cities, recently built, Russian expansion, progress and civilization. Anyone who remembered different, dead, or smart enough to stay silent. 2019, St. Petersburg. Construction project near the Neva River. They're expanding the metro system, digging new tunnels for subway line. Excavation crew working 130 feet below street level. Deeper than normal metro construction. They break through into empty space, void, darkness. Their drill punches into nothing. Engineer on site, Alexei Kovrov, stops work immediately. Safety protocol. Unknown void could be unstable. They lower camera on cable, examine what they've found. Chamber, massive, extends in multiple directions beyond camera light range. Kovrov reports to City Engineering Department, requests structural assessment before continuing. Assessment team arrives next day. Geologists, structural engineers, safety inspectors. They rappel down into the chamber, and they find a city, underground city, beneath St. Petersburg, complete with streets, buildings, infrastructure, not tunnels, not sewers, not catacombs. A city, planned, constructed, abandoned. The structures show advanced engineering, vaulted ceilings, support columns, ventilation systems still functional after centuries, streets laid out in grid pattern, intersections at precise 90-degree angles, surveying accuracy matching modern GPS capabilities. And the size. They map what they can reach. Estimate total area at minimum 4 square miles. 4 square miles of underground construction. Beneath a city officially founded 1703. How long does it take to excavate 4 square miles of underground space, to build structures, to create infrastructure? Decades, minimum. But St. Petersburg officially built in 20 years. 1703 to 1723. Rapid construction. Peter the Great's achievement. Except underneath, evidence of much longer habitation, much more extensive development. The assessment team takes samples, stone, metal, organic materials for dating. They photograph everything, document the layout, note the architectural details. Then they file their report. Report goes to city government, marked urgent, requires immediate attention. 3 days later, military arrives, seals the excavation site. No explanation. Kovrov and his crew removed from project, replaced with military engineering unit. Assessment team reassigned. Sent to different projects, different cities, spread out. The metro construction rerouted, new path chosen. Official reason, geological instability in original route. And the underground city? Sealed. Concrete poured into the access point. Filled. Buried. Again. But Kovrov kept copies. Smart man. Learned from Dmitry Sokolov's experience. USB drive, photographs, survey data, sample analysis results. He gave copies to 3 people he trusted, family members, different cities. One copy surfaced on image sharing site, 2020. Anonymous upload, no context, just photos. The images show stone architecture, columns carved with symbols, not Russian, not any known alphabet. Geometric patterns, mathematical precision, decorative elements that serve functional purposes, acoustic enhancement, airflow optimization, light diffraction. This isn't primitive construction. This is sophisticated engineering disguised as ornamentation. And the symbols.
Researchers examined the photographs. Linguists, archaeologists, compared the symbols to known ancient scripts. No matches. The symbols don't correspond to any catalogued language family. But they're consistent. Same symbols repeated in logical patterns. Grammatical structure visible even without translation. This is writing. Unknown writing. From unknown civilization. Under St. Petersburg. The photos stayed online for 6 days, then removed. Copyright claim, filed by Russian Ministry of Culture. How does Ministry of Culture have copyright on photos of structures they claim don't exist? So now we've got Catherine's admission of finding libraries and technology, structures with impossible construction timelines, underground city beneath St. Petersburg, metal alloys from wrong era, systematic demolition campaigns, archive purges, map collections disappeared, witness silencing. This isn't random. This is coordinated. Centuries-long effort to erase evidence. But why?
What's so dangerous about admitting a previous civilization existed? Think about it. If advanced civilization existed before, questions arise. What happened to them? Where'd they go? What destroyed them? And the big one, could it happen again? See, official history gives us comfort. Linear progression. Humans start primitive, develop slowly, get smarter, build better. Progress is inevitable. But if civilization rose and fell before, if they had technology and lost it, that breaks the narrative. Suddenly progress isn't guaranteed. Civilization isn't permanent. We could lose everything, go backwards, collapse. And people can't handle that. The fear, the uncertainty. So better to pretend it never happened. Better to maintain the illusion of steady progress. Keep everyone believing we're moving forward, only forward, never back. But let's talk about what they actually had, because the architectural evidence points to something specific. Free energy.
Atmospheric electricity collection. Harmonic resonance. Look at the towers. Every major structure from this civilization has prominent tower. Metal dome or spire on top. Specific height ratios, specific architectural proportions. These aren't decorative, they're functional. The towers act as antennas, collecting atmospheric electromagnetic energy. The metal domes concentrate it. The building structure channels it, down through the architecture into underground chambers. And the chambers, remember those acoustic properties, the precise geometric ratios? They're resonance chambers, amplifying specific frequencies, creating standing waves, generating power through harmonic vibration. Sound crazy? Look at the evidence. Sokolov Tower, before demolition, locals reported strange humming on certain days, vibration felt in nearby buildings. No source identified. Winter Palace underground chambers. Visitors describe feeling of electricity in the air, tingling sensation, hair standing up. No electrical systems nearby to explain it. Kazan Cathedral. Acoustic tests done in 1970s showed sound behaving abnormally in certain chambers. Amplification at specific frequencies. Standing wave formation. Physics researchers couldn't explain it with normal acoustics. These buildings were designed as machines, energy collectors, resonance generators, and they worked. until somebody shut them down. Because here's the thing. They didn't just demolish structures. They modified them first. Every surviving building from this era shows specific alterations, done during the 30-year gap, 1800 to 1830. The metal spires removed, replaced with different designs, wrong proportions, wrong materials. The underground chambers filled partially, ventilation shafts blocked, acoustic properties destroyed through added walls and partitions. The windows changed. Original windows showed specific geometric patterns, mathematical ratios.
Light diffraction properties, all replaced with standard rectangular openings. They systematically disabled the technology, made the buildings non-functional, turned machines into monuments. Why? Control. Free energy means independence. No need for centralized power. No need for fuel distribution. No need for the infrastructure that enables control. Can't control population that doesn't need your resources. So the technology had to go, had to be forgotten, had to become impossible in the collective mind. And now we buy electricity, pay for it, depend on it, completely. But people remember, not officially, not in documents, in stories, oral traditions, passed down. Russian folklore talks about the old world, the time before, when buildings sang, when light came from towers, when nobody went hungry. Fairy tales. That's how they're dismissed. Childish stories. But listen to the details. Baba Yaga, witch in the forest, lives in hut that stands on chicken legs. Hut moves, spins.
Commands from Baba Yaga make it turn.
What's that describing? Mobile structure, rotational capability, command responsive. That's not magic. That's technology described by people who don't understand it. The firebird. Glowing bird that lights up darkness. Feathers shine like flame. Brings light wherever it goes. Portable light source. No fire, just glow. Electricity? Bioluminescence? Technology we forgot? These stories came from somewhere, based on something. Memories of things that existed, then didn't. And across Siberia, indigenous peoples tell similar stories. Sky people who built cities, brought knowledge, then left, or died. Stories vary, but all agree. They were here, then gone. And what they built? Buried, hidden, forbidden. So you'd think modern era changes things. Internet, information access, harder to hide evidence. Wrong. Easier. Much easier. Because now they control the algorithms, the search results, the fact checkers. Try searching for Tartaria.
See what comes up. Debunking articles, conspiracy theory labels, mockery, dismissal. Academic sources? Carefully worded to imply it never existed as unified empire, just geographic term, historical misunderstanding. Primary sources: the old maps, the photographs, the documents, buried in search results. Page 20, page 30. Nobody looks that far. And the really damning evidence? Removed. Copyright strikes, terms of service violations, community guidelines. I've watched it happen. Researcher uploads scans of 1800s maps showing Tartarian cities. Next day, video removed, account suspended. Another researcher posts architectural analysis of impossible construction timelines. Week later, channel deleted. Years of work gone. They don't need book burnings anymore. don't need library raids, just algorithm adjustments, just terms of service enforcement, just misinformation labels. Cleaner, quieter, more effective. And if you complain, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Questioning official narrative, spreading false information. Never mind the physical evidence, never mind the documents, never mind the photographs. Official story is true. Alternative evidence is false. Simple. But some academics try. Real researchers, credentialed, following proper methodology. They submit papers, peer review, academic journals, rejected every time. Not because of flawed methodology, not because of insufficient evidence, because of implications. One researcher, Dr. Thomas Müller from Berlin, spent 12 years studying architectural impossibilities in Russian imperial structures. Measured, calculated, analyzed construction timelines against available technology and workforce. Concluded, impossible. Buildings too advanced for official dates. Must predate claimed construction by century minimum. Submitted findings to major engineering journal. Rejected. Conclusions not supported by historical consensus. Historical consensus, not evidence. Consensus.
He tried another journal. Rejected. Challenges established chronology without sufficient justification. He had measurements, calculations, photographic evidence, metallurgical analysis, apparently insufficient. He presented at conference, small audience, polite questions, no media coverage. Paper published, finally, in obscure regional journal, Croatian publication, limited circulation. Career impact? Immediate. Tenure review suddenly problematic. Funding dried up. Colleagues distanced themselves. He's still teaching, undergraduate classes, intro courses. His research quietly shelved. Message sent. Message received. And it's getting worse. Because awareness is growing. Internet made information harder to contain completely. People comparing notes, sharing evidence, connecting dots. So the response intensifies. 2022. YouTube announces new policy. Historical misinformation violates community guidelines.
Videos questioning established historical consensus subject to removal.
Who determines established consensus?
Unnamed panel of experts. No appeals process. No transparency. Thousands of videos deleted. Channels terminated. Historical analysis. Archaeological evidence. Architectural studies. Gone. Facebook implements similar policy. Instagram, Twitter, all major platforms. Coordinated. Simultaneous. Almost like they planned it. And the justification? Protecting users from false information, maintaining historical accuracy. But accuracy according to whom? What makes official narrative automatically true and physical evidence automatically false? Nobody answers that question. 2023, Kazakhstan. Construction project near Astana. They're building new government complex, excavating foundation. Hit something solid at 40 feet depth. Stone. Carved. Excavation reveals structure. Enormous. Extends far beyond construction site boundaries. Analysis shows age. Minimum 1,200 years old. Architecture unlike anything in regional historical record. Kazakhstan government makes announcement. Major archaeological discovery. International significance. News coverage, photographs. Plans for preservation and study. Then silence. Week later, retraction. Preliminary dating was incorrect.
Actually, much more recent, not archaeologically significant. Construction continues, but researchers saw the initial photos. Architectural analysis already done. Age estimation confirmed by multiple methods. Then, changed story. Official narrative enforced. One researcher, Dr. Aynur Ospanov, Kazakh archaeologist, goes public. Contradicts official retraction. Provides evidence of original dating. Found dead 2 weeks later. Heart attack. Age 41. No prior health issues. Autopsy performed. Results sealed. Family not given details. His research notes? Confiscated. Part of ongoing investigation. Investigation into what?
His heart attack? Or his questions? And the structure in Astana, buried under new construction, concrete poured, government complex built on top. Pattern continues. So here's what we're looking at. Global civilization, advanced technology, free energy systems, architectural capabilities beyond current understanding. Existed until sometime in 1700s. Then, collapse, or destruction, or something. Survivors absorbed into expanding empires. Russia, European powers, all moving in, all claiming virgin territory. But it wasn't virgin. It was conquered, occupied, repurposed. And the conquerors? They found things. Libraries, technologies, knowledge. Some they kept, studied secretly. Military applications, power generation, construction techniques. Some they destroyed. Too dangerous, too revolutionary, too destabilizing. But all of it, hidden, erased from public knowledge, written out of history. Because if people knew, questions multiply. Who built it? How advanced were they? What destroyed them? Could we face the same fate? Are we repeating their mistakes? And the biggest question, what else are they hiding? Because if they lied about this, what else isn't true? What other history got rewritten? What other evidence got buried? The entire foundation of official narrative becomes questionable. Can't have that. Can't have population questioning everything, doubting authority, demanding real answers. So the lie continues. The cover-up maintains. The evidence gets systematically eliminated, century after century, generation after generation, until we forget it was ever there. And they're winning. Each year, more evidence destroyed, more structures demolished, more documents lost, more researchers silenced, more questions labeled conspiracy, more truth buried under misinformation. The physical evidence is finite. Once it's gone, gone forever. We're in the end game now. Last generation that can still find pieces. Still connect the dots, still prove what existed. Next generation? They'll have algorithms, fact checkers, official sources. No maps, no photographs, no structures, no samples. Just approved narrative. Clean, simple, unquestionable. And if you question it, your problem, your threat, your danger to social stability. Already happening, already in motion. The window is closing. But there's one more thing. Remember that sealed document? Catherine's erasure order. It's not destroyed. Can't be. Too important. Too dangerous to trust to complete destruction. Someone knows where it is. Someone's keeping it. For insurance, for leverage, for the day they might need it. And I found them. Or rather, they found me. 3 days ago, message on encrypted channel, anonymous sender. Said they have Catherine's document, original, seal intact. And something else. Something Catherine found. Physical object from before, from the old empire. Technology, still functional. Proof of capabilities we're told didn't exist. They want to release it, make it public, end the cover-up. But they need help. Distribution network, multiple platforms simultaneously, impossible to suppress completely. They're giving me the files. Tomorrow. Physical meeting, undisclosed location. If I get them, if they're real, everything changes. The proof, the smoking gun, undeniable. Unless it's a trap. Unless they're not who they claim. Unless this is how they find people who know too much, who ask too many questions, who threaten the narrative. I don't know which, but I'm going anyway. Because if it's real, if Catherine's document exists, if the technology still works, we can prove it all. Every city, every structure, every impossible timeline, every buried truth. We can show the world what they erased, what they're still hiding, what they'll kill to keep secret. 4 a.m., December 9th, 2023. Moscow outskirts. I'm standing in an abandoned industrial complex, former textile factory, shut down 1991. Nobody's been here in decades. Cold. Breath turning to fog. Temperature about 15 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm waiting. Anonymous contact said 4:15 a.m. Specific location inside the factory, 3rd floor, northwest corner. I've got camera, audio recorder. Backup files uploaded to 3 different cloud services, different accounts, different countries. If something happens to me, evidence still exists. If they're real, if they have what they claim, world changes today. If they're not, well, we'll see. 4:11 a.m. Footsteps, metal stairs creaking. Someone's coming. I position myself, back to wall, clear view of entrance. Figure appears, silhouette in darkness. Can't see face. They stop, 10 feet away. Cautious. Voice, male, mid-50s maybe, Russian accent. Says in English, "You came alone?" I confirm, alone, as instructed. He asks, "You understand the risks?" I understand. He steps forward, into the light from my flashlight. Older than I thought. 60, maybe 65. Weathered face, eyes that have seen things. He's carrying metal briefcase, Soviet era, battered, scratched. Sets it down between us, says, "My name is Dmitry Volkov. I was Deputy Director of Soviet Ministry of Culture, Department of Historical Preservation, 1978 to 1991. He pauses, looks at me, deciding something. Then, "Everything you've been researching, everything you suspect, it's worse than you know." Volkov talks for 90 minutes straight. I record everything. He starts in 1978, fresh appointment, deputy director, eager, believed in preserving Soviet cultural heritage. First assignment, catalog historical documents in Kremlin archives. Standard work, routine. But he finds files, marked special access, requires clearance he doesn't have. He asks his superior about them. Superior goes pale, tells him, "Those files don't exist. You never saw them. Forget." But Volkov's curious, smart.
He waits, befriends archive staff, learns their routines, finds opportunity. 1979. Late night. Most staff gone. He accesses the special access files, and he discovers Catherine's project. Not just the erasure order, the whole thing. Documentation spanning 1798 to 1835. Catherine didn't just order history erased, she organized it. Systematic, comprehensive, multi-generational project. The files contained lists, hundreds of pages. Every structure to be demolished, every map to be confiscated, every document to be destroyed. Every person who knew too much to be. Volkov pauses here. Reassigned. Reassigned. Soviet euphemism for liquidated. But the files also contained why. Catherine's researchers had explored the abandoned cities, found working technology, free energy systems.
Medical equipment that could cure diseases instantly. Agricultural methods producing crops without seasons. Technology that would make government unnecessary. Make control impossible. So she ordered it destroyed. All of it. Buried. Forgotten. And her successors continued the project. Russian Empire, Soviet Union, modern Russia. Different governments, same agenda. Keep the population dependent. Keep the power centralized. Keep the truth buried. Volkov opens the briefcase. Inside, documents, originals, yellowed paper, imperial seals, Soviet stamps. He spreads them on the concrete floor. First document, Catherine's erasure order, dated November 14th, 1798. Handwritten, her signature, royal seal intact. The text is clear, direct, no ambiguity. Orders the systematic removal of all evidence pertaining to the previous civilization. Lists specific cities, specific structures, specific archives. Assigns responsibility. Names officials in charge.
Provides timeline. 30 years for complete erasure. And the reason given? Preservation of social stability and imperial authority. Not security, not defense. Stability and authority. She's admitting truth threatens her power, so truth must die. Second document, report from 1812. Field commander updating progress. Lists demolished structures. 217 buildings destroyed in the past year alone. Foundations excavated and filled. Underground chambers collapsed with explosives. Casualties mentioned. 14 workers killed during demolition of the Great Tower in Tobolsk. Unstable structure. Unexpected collapse. But note added, local population reacted with hostility. 3 executions required to maintain order. They killed people for protesting the demolitions, for trying to preserve their heritage. Third document, this one Soviet era, 1936. NKVD memo, internal, classified. Subject, historical revisionism concerns. Lists individuals who've been researching pre-imperial Russian history, asking questions about Tartaria, publishing findings about impossible architecture. Recommendations, surveillance, employment termination, arrest if necessary. 12 names listed, with notes next to each. 8 have notation, processed 1937. Processed, purged, disappeared. The other 4, under continued observation. Stalin's purges weren't just political. They were historical. Eliminating people who remembered too much, who questioned too carefully. Fourth document,
And this one makes my hands shake. 1998, post-Soviet, Russian Federation. Presidential directive, signed by Boris Yeltsin. Establishes Committee for Protection of Historical Integrity. Sounds benign, harmless. But read the mandate. Identify and suppress publication of materials contradicting established historical narrative. Government Committee.
Dedicated to censorship, active censorship of historical research, and it still exists. Current government maintains it, expanded it. Every researcher who got silenced, every paper rejected, every funding denial, every convenient accident. This committee, operating in shadows, protecting the cover-up. But Volkov saved the best for last. He reaches into briefcase again, pulls out wrapped object, cloth covering, careful handling, unwraps it slowly. Metal device, size of a brick, irregular shape, smooth surfaces, no seams, no screws, no obvious construction method. Weight, he hands it to me, maybe 6 pounds. Feels warm, not hot, just warm. Room temperature should be cold, but this is warm. Symbols etched into surface, same symbols from the St. Petersburg photographs. Unknown writing, mathematical precision. Volkov says, "We found 12 of these, 1983, during renovation of building in Kazan, hidden in wall cavity, sealed, preserved." He activates it. Touches specific symbol, holds for 3 seconds. The device hums, low frequency, barely audible, but I feel it. Vibration. Not in the device, in the air, in my chest. The temperature changes. Room gets warmer, noticeably warmer. 10 degrees, 15, rising. No visible power source, no batteries, no fuel, just working. Volkov touches different symbol. Humming stops. Temperature stabilizes. He says, "Atmospheric energy collection, just like you theorized. They had it. It worked. We suppressed it." I'm holding working technology from deleted civilization. Proof. Undeniable proof. I ask about the other 11 devices. Volkov's face darkens. Confiscated. 1984. KGB requisition. Taken to special research facility. Classified location. He tried to track them. Used his access. Called in favors. Found out they were being studied. Reverse engineering attempts. Soviet scientists trying to understand the technology. They failed. Couldn't replicate it. Couldn't even determine power source. The devices worked, but they couldn't figure out how. So the devices got locked away. Deep storage. Too valuable to destroy. Too dangerous to acknowledge. Volkov managed to keep one. This one. Hidden. Personal insurance. For 39 years he's kept it, waiting. For the right moment. The right person. "I'm 73 years old," he says. "Lung cancer. 6 months. Maybe less." He coughs. Harsh. Painful. "I don't need insurance anymore. I need truth. Before I die. Before this gets buried with me." So now everything connects. The empire existed. Technologically advanced. Free energy. Medical capabilities. Agricultural abundance. Something happened. Collapse. Catastrophe. War. We don't know what. Survivors scattered. Infrastructure abandoned. Knowledge fragmented. Then the conquering empires moved in. Russia, European powers, China expanding west.
They found the remnants, the cities, the technology, the knowledge, and they made a choice. Not to share it, not to revive it, to suppress it. Because free energy means no control. Advanced medicine means no pharmaceutical profits. Abundant food means no agricultural monopolies. The technology threatened power structures, so power structures destroyed the technology and wrote new history, clean history, linear progression, primitive to advanced, them to us. Never mentioning we're actually going backwards, losing capabilities, forgetting what once existed. The cover-up isn't about protecting us. It's about protecting them, the ones who control, the ones who profit from our dependence. Remember the demolition wave? Now we know why. Eliminating physical evidence. Can't have buildings that prove the timeline wrong. The map collectors? Catherine buying up every map showing the truth, then destroying them, controlling the narrative at the source. The building techniques? Not Russian innovation, inherited technology, repurposed structure. Pretending discovery of what they merely found. The survivor accounts? Oral histories preserving memories. Dismissed as folklore because believing them means questioning everything. The chronology problem? Solved. The timeline's wrong, deliberately falsified, to hide what came before. The underground city beneath St. Petersburg, built by the previous civilization. Peter the Great just built on top, claimed it as his creation. All the pieces fit, all the loops close. One massive, interconnected cover-up. Volkov gives me everything. Documents, photographs, the device, copies of files he smuggled out over the years. Says, release it, all of it, everywhere simultaneously. Make it impossible to suppress. I ask, what about him? This implicates him. Theft of state documents, revealing classified information. He laughs, bitter. I'm dead in 6 months anyway. What can they do? Speed it up? He stands, preparation to leave. But first, warning. They'll come for you. Discredit you first. Conspiracy theorist. Fraud. Mentally unstable. Standard protocol. If that doesn't work, accidents happen. Heart attacks, car crashes, suicides. So move fast. Get it out. Get it everywhere before they find you. He walks to the stairs, stops, looks back. One more thing. The committee. They monitor online activity, keywords, search patterns. They know you've been researching. They probably know about this meeting, or will soon. You have maybe 48 hours. Use them. Then he's gone. Footsteps fading down metal stairs. I'm alone, with a briefcase full of suppressed history and a decision to make. I spent the next 36 hours releasing everything. Scanned every document, photographed the device from every angle, video demonstration of it working, compiled all my research, all the evidence from parts 1 and 2, uploaded to 73 different platforms, video sites, image hosts, document repositories, blockchain storage, torrent networks, academic preprint servers, different accounts, different names, different locations through VPN. Impossible to suppress completely. Too many copies, too many places. Some got removed, copyright strikes, terms violations, community guidelines. But others stayed up, got downloaded, got shared, got archived. The information's out there now, in the wild, beyond control. And the response? Exactly as predicted.
Mainstream media ignored it. Complete silence. Not even debunking, just nothing. Fact-checkers published articles, false ratings, conspiracy theory labels, standard dismissal. But alternative media picked it up. Independent journalists, researchers, people who've been investigating this for years. They started connecting it to their own findings, sharing their suppressed evidence, building the case. Within a week, millions of views, hundreds of thousands of downloads, translations into 43 languages, the truth spreading. Finally.
And the pushback started. Videos removed, accounts suspended, websites taken down. But too late. Already distributed too widely. Already backed up too many times. They can't stuff this back in the bottle. My identity got exposed, leaked somehow. Suddenly, my real name attached to the investigation. Articles appeared, hit pieces. Conspiracy theorist spreading Russian disinformation. Mentally unstable individual fabricating evidence. Colleagues distanced themselves. Friends stopped calling. Family members worried. Standard protocol. Character assassination. Make the messenger untrustworthy so the message gets ignored. But the evidence doesn't care about my character. Documents are real. Photographs are real. Device is real. Attack me all you want. Can't make the truth disappear. 2 weeks after release, Dmitry Volkov died. Officially, lung cancer. Expected. But timeline doesn't match. Doctors gave him 6 months. He died in 2 weeks. Rapid deterioration, sudden complications. Very convenient timing. I can't prove anything, can't investigate, don't have access, but the pattern's clear. He gave me the evidence. He died. Message sent. 3 weeks after release, Dr. Anya Fedorova, the researcher who found the impossible metal alloy, killed in car accident. Single vehicle, lost control, no witnesses, road conditions perfect. Same pattern as the other researchers we discussed. She hadn't gone public yet, hadn't connected to my investigation, but she had evidence, independent evidence, corroborating evidence. So she had to go. 4 weeks after release, my apartment broken into. Nothing stolen, no damage, but someone went through everything. Professional, careful. They took my computer, my backup drives, my notes. Didn't matter. Everything already uploaded, already distributed. But they don't know that. Or maybe they do. Maybe this is just intimidation, showing me they can reach me, anytime, anywhere. But here's the thing they didn't expect. Other researchers came forward, from across the world. China. Guy named Wei Chen, been studying anomalous structures in Xinjiang. Architecture that doesn't match official Chinese history. He releases his evidence, connects it to mine, shows the civilization extended into Western China too. Kazakhstan. Dr. Ospanov's research team, the ones who survived, they release what they saved before his death. The Astana excavation evidence, age verification, architectural analysis, proves the timeline, proves the cover-up. Peru. Research team studying pre-Incan structures. They find similar technology signatures, same mathematical ratios, same architectural principles. What if this wasn't just Northern Asia? What if this was global? Australia. Aboriginal oral histories describing sky people with advanced technology. Europeans dismissed it as mythology. But what if it's memory? Tribal memory of this civilization. The evidence keeps coming, independent, corroborating, undeniable. We're not alone anymore. Not isolated researchers asking questions. We're a movement.
global, growing, and they can't silence all of us.
8 weeks after release, major event.
Anonymous leak. From inside Russian government.
Current Committee for Protection of Historical Integrity.
Someone's conscience broke. Someone's had enough. They dump internal files, thousands of pages. Current operations, target lists, suppression protocols. Shows active, ongoing censorship. Shows researcher targeting. Shows coordinated efforts with other governments. Because this isn't just Russia. This is international. United States. Smithsonian suppression of anomalous artifacts. Giant skeletons, advanced tools, evidence that doesn't fit approved timeline. All quietly disappeared into storage. Never displayed, never studied, never acknowledged. Britain. British Museum lost inventory. Thousands of items unaccounted for, many from categories matching suppressed civilization evidence. Lost, sure. Conveniently lost. France, Germany, China, Japan, every major power. Same pattern, same suppression. Global conspiracy. Because the truth threatens global power structures. Can't have that. But the leak changed everything. Mainstream media can't ignore it anymore. Too big, too documented, too many government officials implicated. They start covering it. Carefully. Allegations of historical censorship, questions about archaeological suppression. Still dismissive, still skeptical, but covering it. And once it's in mainstream discourse, it's real, it exists, can't be completely memory holed. Politicians start asking questions, demanding investigations, calling for hearings. Some genuine, some opportunistic. Don't matter. The pressure builds. Archives start opening. Voluntary transparency initiatives, releasing previously classified materials. Damage control, get ahead of the story, release what they can't hide anymore. And the evidence keeps coming. More maps, more photographs, more documents, more artifacts. Every week, new revelations, new confirmations. The wall is cracking. It's been 6 months now, since Volkov gave me the briefcase, since I released everything. I'm still alive, surprisingly, though I take precautions, move frequently, vary routines, trust nobody. The investigation continues, crowdsourced now. Thousands of researchers sharing data, building the case. We've mapped the empire. Approximate borders, major cities, infrastructure networks, spanned from Eastern Europe to Pacific coast, north to south, from Arctic to Central Asia. Population estimated 30 to 40 million at its peak, sometime around 1600 to 1700. Technology level, in some areas exceeded ours, in others different. Alternative development path, different principles. Free energy instead of fossil fuels. Resonance instead of combustion. Harmony instead of extraction. And then, gone. Between 1700 and 1800. 1 century, complete collapse. We don't know why yet. Climate change, war, disease, catastrophe. Evidence unclear. Cities abandoned, not destroyed, abandoned, like people just left. That's the remaining mystery, the final question. What made an entire civilization walk away from everything they built? And that question terrifies them, the ones who maintain the cover-up. Because if advanced civilization can collapse, ours can too. We're not guaranteed progress. We're not guaranteed survival. Civilization is fragile. And our current path, fossil fuel dependence, environmental destruction,
wealth concentration, mirrors something, some pattern. What if they collapsed because of similar mistakes? What if we're repeating their trajectory? That's the real threat. Not the technology they had, not the history they left, the warning they represent. That civilization can end, that progress can reverse, that everything can be lost. And nobody wants to face that possibility.
Easier to deny it happened, easier to suppress the evidence, easier to maintain illusion of inevitable progress. But illusions don't protect us. Truth does. Only by understanding what destroyed them can we avoid their fate. So here's where we are. The evidence is out, the suppression is documented, the cover-up is exposed. But the battle isn't over. They're still fighting, still censoring, still intimidating. Every researcher who goes public risks their career, their reputation, their life. Every platform that hosts the evidence gets pressured, gets threatened, gets shut down. Every academic who supports the investigation faces consequences, professional suicide. The system protects itself, violently if necessary. But we're not stopping. Because this isn't about proving we're right. This is about survival. Understanding what they had, what they lost, what destroyed them. That knowledge might save us. Their technology, free energy, advanced medicine, sustainable agriculture, could solve our current crises. If we can rediscover it, reverse engineer it, implement it. But first, we need to admit it existed. That's the fight, the real fight. Not proving the past, securing the future. And I need your help. Not just watching this video, not just believing it. Action, real action. Download the evidence, all of it, archive it, back it up, multiple locations, different platforms, share it, but carefully. They're monitoring. Use VPNs, use encryption, use anonymous accounts. Support researchers, the ones still investigating, still asking questions. They need funding, protection, platforms. Demand accountability from governments, from institutions, from academics. Why was this suppressed? Who authorized it? What else are they hiding? Visit the structures, the ones still standing. Photograph them, document them before they get demolished. Talk to elders, indigenous peoples, communities with oral histories. Record their stories before that generation dies. Connect the evidence, build the case, make it undeniable. This is our generation's responsibility, our moment. Last chance before the evidence disappears completely. Next generation won't have what we have, won't have the structures, won't have the witnesses, won't have the documents. Just a proved narrative, carefully curated, perfectly controlled. Unless we act now. And understand, this is dangerous. I've lost colleagues, lost friends, lost normal life. Volkov died. Fedorova died. Ospanov died. How many others? They will fight to protect this cover-up. They have resources, they have power, they have centuries of practice. But they're scared now. Because truth is getting out. Because people are listening. Because the wall is cracking. Scared power is dangerous power. So be careful. Be smart. Be strategic. Don't become a martyr. Become a network. Distributed. Resilient. Impossible to eliminate completely. That's how we win. Not through heroic individuals, through collective action, Unstoppable momentum. But here's the beautiful thing. We're already winning. 6 months ago, nobody knew, nobody cared. Conspiracy theory, fringe topic. Now, millions aware, thousands investigating, evidence mounting daily, mainstream media acknowledging it, politicians questioning it, academics studying it. We forced the conversation, changed the narrative, made it real. And every day, more evidence emerges, more researchers come forward, more truth breaks through. The dam is breaking. The cover-up is failing. The lie is dying. Slowly, painfully, with enormous resistance, but dying. And on the other side, truth. Real history, real technology, real hope. For a future that doesn't repeat their mistakes, that learns from their civilization, that builds something better, that's worth fighting for, that's worth the risks. I still have Volkov's device. The one piece of working technology. I've tested it extensively, documented everything, shared the data. Other researchers trying to understand it, reverse engineer it, replicate it. Progress slow, but happening. And I think about him, Volkov, dying words. Release it all. Make it impossible to suppress. I did that. We did that. But he said something else right before he left. The truth doesn't fear investigation. Only lies do. They're afraid of investigation, afraid of questions, afraid of evidence. That's how you know we're onto something real. Truth welcomes scrutiny. Lies demand silence. They're demanding silence, threatening, censoring, killing. Which means we found their truth, the one they can't afford revealed. So we keep pushing, keep investigating, keep exposing, until the whole world knows, until the lies collapse completely, until the real history, their history, our history, gets told. This investigation continues, new evidence every week. Watch for updates. But more importantly, join us. Investigate yourself. Find the evidence in your area. Share what you discover. This is bigger than one video, one researcher, one smoking gun. This is reclaiming our history, our technology, our future. And they can't stop all of us. Download this video before it gets removed. Archive it, share it, mirror it. Tell everyone. Show them the evidence. Make them question. Because the greatest weapon they have, our ignorance. Take that away, and they're powerless. The empire existed. The technology worked. The cover-up happened. That's not theory anymore. That's documented fact. What we do with that knowledge determines everything. Choose wisely. Choose truth. And remember, they're counting on you forgetting, getting distracted, moving on to the next thing. Don't. This matters. This changes everything. Stay focused, stay informed, stay active. The fight isn't over. It's just beginning. Oh, and one more thing. That sealed document. The one attached to Catherine's map in Dmitry Sokolov's photo. The military took it. Sealed room. Everything confiscated. But remember, Sokolov made copies. Gave them to 3 people, different cities. One copy surfaced. The photos we've seen. The other 2? They're still out there, waiting, hidden. And one of them, according to a source I can't name, contains more than photos.
contains the actual document, Catherine's personal notes, describing what her researchers found, in detail, complete detail. Technology, locations, everything. That document exists somewhere in someone's possession. And when it surfaces, everything we've uncovered so far, just the beginning.